you know, I think some kind of brain machine interface uh, that can give you cybernetic superpowers, I think, is probably good. It could, help people that have brain or spine injuries. Enable people who've never spoken for years to speak again, which we've done. Give people eyesight who have lost both eyes or the optic nerve, or maybe have never even seen at all, blind from birth, by direct interface to the optical centers in the brain. You can actually restore eyesight or give people eyesight that they've never had before, and you can enable people to walk again, which I think is profound. I mean, these are kind of Jesus level things, like let's say like when technologies are hitting like Jesus level miracles, that's pretty good.
Shalom, back again with another lesson. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to begin by giving all honor, glory, and praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. I want to give double honors to my elders and apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, where I've learned this truth from. I want to say peace and salutations to you, Akim, you brothers out there laboring, pushing his word out in all truth and in sincerity, presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice, which is your reasonable service. I want to say shalom to you, Arquaf, meaning you Israelite sisters that may be listening, and also to you Israelites that are scattered across the four corners of the earth. You may look like these other nations, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the chosen seed line. Shalom. So in this lesson, we're going to speak on the MOTB, or the Mark of the Beast, as this specific prophecy is getting louder and louder by the day. It's becoming more and more difficult for people to deny that the RFID microchip technology is here, right? So we understand, you have some Israelite groups out there that are still in denial of the fact that the RFID microchip and the brain chip are the biometric system is the mark of the beast. They'll argue till they're blue in the face to tell you you're wrong, and miss all the articles or the posts on social media or the newsreels, everything that talks about this digital system that's getting ready to be implemented and put in place on earth, right? The hour of temptation is coming here. So what I'm going to do in this lesson, Lord willing, is I'm going to play a few clips and bring out a few scriptures and then just close it down there. Because brothers, you're seeing a lot of brothers out there now that are pushing, lessons on the RFID microchip, the beast system, to warn our people. And that's what our job is. So I'm going to start in the book of Ezekiel. And usually I'll start in Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 17. But, I'm going to read in the book of Ezekiel chapter 33 and verse 7. That's where I'll start. It's the same scripture, exact same. It's just obviously a little bit different, but it's the same thing. So this is Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 7. It says, "So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me." Right? So when we go into that scripture, it says, "So thou, O son of man." That's talking about the prophets, the men of the Lord, right? The men that the Lord set up in these end times to warn his people, to bring out these scriptures, right? It says, "I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel." So it's very specific when it's talking about the Israelites. We're warning the Israelites. We're letting the Israelites know, like, look, this thing is coming. Although there are some Israelites out there, some Israelite groups, as I mentioned, that don't believe it, you have the brothers, elders and apostles, the brothers of Great Millstone, who are speaking the 100% truth and warning you according to the scriptures. Everything's being filtered through the scriptures, and we're bringing out through the scriptures, unlike these other camps that choose not to do that. They choose to change the doctrine and make up their own, spin on it. Right? But it's clear as day. So as I continue reading, it says, "So thou, O son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me." And when you hear the word at the Lord's mouth, it's these prophecies. You hear these prophecies, when the prophecies are written in the scriptures and we understand the times that we're in, that's the word at the Lord's mouth. And then we're warning you through the scriptures, just as I mentioned. Right? So as we continue to keep reading, it is our job to warn our people not to take the MOTB, the mark of the beast, because there is a judgment that is coming for those that take it, right? So we are coming into the hour of temptation, because this is written in the scriptures. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and I'm going to read in verse 10. Let's have a look. I'll highlight this. Okay, so it says here, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 10, and it reads, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth." So everybody's going to be tried during the hour of temptation, right? We're getting ready to go into some serious times, and the world is going to be tried. It's going to be tested, and you see it quite often. A lot of these videos that you see pop up on social media where you have somebody go to buy something and they swipe their hand because they've already accepted that charagma, right? And we're going to get into that word in as well, the charax. We're going to get into that, Lord willing. But these are the things that we're seeing online in social media and all these different platforms. But you see how the Lord is worded it in the book of Revelation chapter 3 verse 10. It says, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience," meaning you've kept the words that I told you not to accept this beast system, not to receive that RFID micro chip. Because you've kept his patience, it says, "I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation," meaning this thing's going to be so severe, right? Ain't nobody getting out of this this hour of temptation. Nobody's going to skip past it, right? Everybody's going to go through it, but the ones that are going to be delivered from that are the elect, which from the foundations of the earth, the Lord always had it that the elect would receive this understanding, would receive these scriptures, would receive these breakdowns, not accept this mark of the beast system, refuse it, reject it, and the Lord obviously keep them protected during the time of trouble, the time that we're coming into, right? So to get specifically into the hour of temptation, the mark of the beast, the MOTB, we're going to read in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. Right, we go straight to the point, right? But we'll go into the breakdown of the charagma, right? The charax, the chip, the RFID microchip. So this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, and it reads, "And he causeth all," so that's everybody, "and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." So this is everybody. So when we look into the breakdowns, so let's have a look. We're going to look at the word mark, receive a mark. So this is G5480, charagma, right? So we're going to play that.
Strong's G5480, charagma, charagma.
Charagma, charagma, right? And charagma means a stamp, an imprinted mark of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of, it says Antichrist here, but the scriptures say that there are many Antichrists. So it's not just a singular person as Christianity likes to promote. As a matter of fact, I'll get that scripture real quick. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 23, right? So it reads, "Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is the anointed, or there, believe it not." So where you have these people that will tell you, "Oh, Yahushua is over here." Well, they won't say Yahushua, they'll say the JC word, but they'll say, "Oh, he's over here," or "he's over there." you know, because you have, like I mentioned, you have these Christians and these believers that talk about this so-called antichrist, right? But they don't understand that it's not talking about a singular man, because you hear that the Pope is the antichrist, or Elon Musk is the antichrist, or Donald Trump is the antichrist. They say that a lot, but there's more than one. So as we continue reading, it says, verse 24, it says, "For there shall arise false anointeds, false Christs, plural," right? It says false anointeds and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But it's not possible for them to deceive the elect, because the elect are going to be awake to the prophecies and they're going to stick to the 100% truth, right? Only the deceived are going to believe, that there's a single antichrist or an anti-anointed that's coming, right? So we're going to go back to the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and this is verse 16, right? And it reads, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads," right? So we're going to look at the word mark just to go into that a little bit more, explain a little bit more. But we're going to go to, this is the G5480, which is charagma,
Strong's G 5480. Charagma. Charagma.
right? And the outline of biblical usage for charagma is a stamp, an imprinted mark, of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the anti-anointed, or antichrist as it's written here, but it's anti-anointed, right? It says the mark branded upon horses, things carved, sculptured, graven work of idolatrous images, right? So when you look at the word charagma and you look at the root word, the etymology, it says from the same as charax. It's G5482, right? And we're just going to go a little bit further into that.
Strong's G 5482. Charax. Charax.
Right? And it means from charasso, to sharpen to a point, akin to, and then obviously it goes into the other words, right? But that's not, we're going to focus on charax, right? It says through the idea of scratching, right? The biblical outline, biblical usage of charax is a pale or stake, right? Or a palisade. So when we look at into the word palisade, right? We look at the images of a palisade, and it's this. You see a pale or stake, that wooden fence, a palisade. Now, when you look at this palisade here, you see how that point of the fence looks like a syringe. You see? Now, when we look at the syringe, yep, syringe right here, microchip syringe. You see how you've got this point. So when you look at the point, you see, just looks just like that fence that we were just looking at. You see that palisade, right? When we go back, look at another image right here. See, and this one's got the chip in it. The point. So you inject or you insert that chip into your right hand, right? Which the right hand just means your dominant hand. Either way, it's going to be inserted into your hand, into under your skin, right? So this is what the charax is, right? The incision. So now to go back to the to here, a palisade or a stake. We saw them wooden posts. Then you have a palisade, which we saw that metal one that looks like the needle of a syringe. And then we looked at a syringe, and you can see how the application works, where you have the syringe that you jab into your right hand or your left hand, whichever one's your dominant, and then they insert the chip straight under the skin, right? So that makes you the property, right? The property of these Edomites. So if we go back a page, when we look at the charagma, Remember how we mentioned here? It says the mark branded upon horses, right? So you chip your animals now. You get cats or you have dogs. You can't have a dog or a cat without it being, it's against the law not to have it chipped. You have to have your animals chipped. You see? So it goes to show you there that you would be basically cattle to these elites, these Edomites, right? And just to go a little bit further, I'm going to read in the book of Deuteronomy. Let's have a look. Deuteronomy chapter 15, I'm going to start at verse 12, right? Because there's a law when you have a slave, right? Because essentially that's what this microchip is getting ready to do. It's getting ready to enslave the entire world, the entirety of the world under this digital system, right? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 12, and it reads, and if thy brother, right, and specifies the brother, right, it says, and if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, so a servant, a slave, right, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. So when you had a Hebrew slave, whether it be a man, whether it be a woman, they would serve you 6 years, and then on the 7th year they had the opportunity to either stay with you or to leave, right? Now as we continue reading, it explains like basically the rules of when you allow a slave to leave, right? So verse 13, it says, and when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. So you let him leave. You don't just cut him loose and let him just wander, the streets just like they did in slavery. No, you have to let them go and you have to leave them with substance, right? So as we continue reading verse 14, it says, thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock and out of thy floor and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord Yahweh thy power hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. Meaning, when you send, if you have a slave and you, on the 7th year, you allow them to leave, you don't leave them with nothing. You give them your substance. So you give them wine, you give them cattle, you give them money, whatever they need to set themselves up so they could be, they could be straight when you let them go. So they're not just out there trying to figure it out. They've got some substance that you leave into, and that's an honorable way of allowing your slaves to go free, right? Now, when they did us in slavery, what did they do? They allowed the slaves in America, Babylon. They allowed the slaves to leave the plantation, and then didn't give them any jobs, didn't give them any substance, so they were loitering. And then they made laws to basically, if you're caught loitering, then you have to go to jail. They set the rules so that Jake would fail. Verse 17 is what I wanted to read. Right, so I'll read down to 17. Matter of fact, let me change that. Change it to this. So this is the point. This is where the point is. Right. So as we continue reading, right, in verse 15, it's Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 15 says, and thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord Yahweh thy power redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. Right. So, when we came out of the land of Egypt, the Lord allowed us to leave with substance, right? And for Hebrew slaves, right, or Israelite slaves, He's commanded the same thing. When you let a bondman and a bondwoman leave, you have to let them leave with substance, right? You can't just leave them to their own devices. Verse 16, it says, and it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loved thee, and thine house, because he is well with thee. So in other words, right, I'm gonna break this down, but in other words, if you say to your bondman, your Hebrew bondwoman, oh yeah, on the 7th year I'm gonna let you go, but they decide, no, I don't wanna go, I wanna stay with you because you treat me good, you've been a decent, master. I mean, you haven't treated me unfair. You've treated me fair. I want to stay with you, right? So it's saying, and if it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee, and thine house, because he is well with thee. Verse 17 is the point. Then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. In other words, it's like the awl. So when you take that RFID microchip, you're basically accepting a digital version of the awl, right? That piercing. That's what it is. You're receiving, that digital identification to say that you wish to stay with this master. These Edomites have been your master all this time, and the Lord's getting ready to release us, and you're saying to the Lord by accepting that mark of the beast, that chip, that you want to stay with this devil. That's what you're basically saying by accepting it, right? So as we go back to the book of Revelation, chapter 13, we're going to continue reading. Actually, I'm going to read verse 16 again and keep going down. It says, Revelation 13 and 16, it says, and he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, in their dominant hand or in their foreheads, the brain chip, these things. So basically that digital all, you're accepting that. Verse 17 says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now that mark, again, the charagma or charax, that's that digital all that you're accepting from the wicked, the ones that's going to be judged in the end time, which are these Edomites, right? Verse 18 says, here is wisdom, let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which is chi psi stigma, right? So you have the 666, which is the barcode, right? Represents the barcode, and you'll be using your digital ID to be able to navigate, daily life, daily society. That's why the king, the king of England, is saying, that this is going to be implemented, the digital ID system, because that digital system is here. It's being implemented, right? You see Elon Musk, pushing out these brain chip, technologies, right? So this is what's getting ready to happen, right? So it's our job, it's our duty as men of the Lord to warn the Israelites, to warn our people not to take it, not to take that chip, because there is a judgment that's coming for those that do take it. Now, I'm going to play some more clips, just some recent clips that I've come across, right? But I'm going to play some more clips of these people that have accepted it, right? And the ones that are floating around with the idea in their mind of taking it, because you have these, like, again, you have these Israelite groups that don't believe that the digital system is the microchip. They don't believe it is, right? But when you look at these clips and you see these articles, you can clearly see it as clear as day. So you have to warn the people, like, if you take it, you become an enemy to the Most High. You become an enemy, and He has to destroy you because you're joining with the losing team, right?
I got a question. Would y'all get that Neuralink brain chip implanted in y'all? I would if for the right money. Why not? Elon Musk want to pay me trillions? Hell yeah, I get that thing in me. Shit, I can be able to drive a car without physically driving it. I'd be able to fly a plane without physically, you know what I'm saying, flying it. Shit, I can look at people text message without physically saying, "Let me see your phone." I'll do it. But I see it's just two people. I was just looking up on the history about it. Um, the plant and what's the side effects and what's the benefits and this and that, what you can do or what you can't do. Hell yeah, I'll do it. Shit. Why not? If the money right, I'll do it. What y'all think? I need y'all feedback on
So
it.
I'm getting a chip implanted into my brain. There's a study happening in LA, and I'm going over there to get this chip implanted in my brain so that I can pay my rent. They're gonna compensate me heavily for my participation and all the data that they retrieve. So you're basically talking to a future robot. I'm so excited.
I feel like I should probably hold on to it the whole time and probably like gesture wildly with it. You're like, you guys, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, here's the thing. So, like, I'll be able to talk with my hands again. So, listen, if we're all here tonight, I think.
Yeah, the arm gesticulating. I see it.
Do you have any side effects?
No, I don't have any side effects.
Do you have any?
I don't have any.
Can you feel it?
I can't feel it. Is it? I was able to do it and then I did it.
And how long did that take you?
That took me about a week.
And then you went home and
I practiced at home.
And so what do you think the biggest benefit of this is?
The biggest benefit is that it's going to help people with spinal cord injuries and people with Parkinson's disease and people with epilepsy and people with depression, anxiety, and all these different things. I could still move the mouse with my mind.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I had. It's actually pretty cool.
Is it like a chip?
It's a small chip, yeah.
So I'm curious about the device itself, you know, the actual, how long did it take you to get used to it?
It was a process, you know, it took a few months to really get comfortable with it, but now it's just part of me, in my head.
Can you show us?
Can you show me where?
Right here. So the future is going to be amazing. We're going to be able to do so much more.
So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 14. We're going to read verse 9 on down to 12, and then we're going to close it out there. Right? Because it says here at the top, the title says Doom for the worshippers of the beast. And doom is destruction, right? You're going to be wiped out. You're going to receive, you know, a special delivery from them ICBM nuclear missiles, you know. Right, so this is the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 9, and it reads, And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, that's that digital oil, that microchip, says, The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into a cup of his indignation. Now, what's indignation? Right? Let's have a look. Let's see what the indignation is. Right? It says, Indignation is a strong, righteous feeling of anger, displeasure, or outrage caused by something perceived as unjust, unfair, or morally wrong. So you see there, right? So it says it. It says, let me read that verse again, right? So this is Revelation 14 and 10. It says, The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So you're going to be cooked in front of Yahushua and the angels and, you know, the elect. They're going to watch you cooking, you know, because obviously you decided to join the wrong team, the losing team, you know, rebellion, complete rebellion. As we continue reading, verse 11 says, And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, right? And they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name, right? So, you know, where it says the smoke ascendeth up forever, meaning, you know, Babylon is going to be cooked. And it's not talking about forever and ever and ever, for a long period of time. So verse 12, which is the point, says, Here is the patience of the saints. And who are the saints? The saints are the Israelites. Matter of fact, I can quickly grab that. You know, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 148, and verse 14. It says, He also exalteth the horn of his people, who are the Israelites, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye Yahweh, praise ye the Lord Yahweh. Right? When you go to the next chapter, it says, praise ye the Lord Yahweh, sing unto the Lord Yahweh a new song, and his praise in the congregation of saints, which we've already established in the last verse, that is talking about the Israelites, right? So again, that's who the Israelites are. That's who the saints are, the Israelites. So when we go back to the book of Revelation chapter 14, it says, verse 12 again, it says, here is the patience of the saints, who we've established are the Israelites. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahweh Shai, right? So with that, I'm going to leave it there. I pray that this lesson has been edifying unto the elect. I want to say, Kol Halo Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Recha Kodash. Double honors to my elders and apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and salutations to you hopeful elect. And it's on to the next one, Lord willing. Shalom.